Lee Taeho opened his eyes slowly. The light above him was too bright. His head hurt badly. Everything in his body felt like it was burning. Where was he? The ceiling looked strange. It was made of some kind of metal he had never seen before. Blue. Lights ran along the edges in patterns that moved like water. This was not a human medical room. Taeho tried to sit up. Pain shot through his chest and arms. His hands were covered in white bandages. We could smell something like burned plastic, and ozone in the air. "You are awake," said a voice. Taeho turned his head. A tall creature stood near his bed. It looked like a person, but its skin was green and covered in small scales. Its eyes were yellow with no whites. When it spoke, Taeho heard both the creatures' voice and a mechanical translation in his ear. "I am Captain Kong Suben," the creature said. "You are on Kepler Station. You have been unconscious for 3 weeks." 3 weeks? Taeho's mind felt foggy. He remembered being on a diplomatic mission. He was the engineer for the human team. We were supposed to meet with alien species and make friends. But what happened after that? "The reactor exploded," Captain Suben said, as if reading his thoughts. "There was a big electrical surge. You were checking the fusion core when it happened. The blast threw you against the wall. We thought you were dead." Taeho touched his chest. Under his shirt, he felt more bandages. His left arm was completely wrapped up. "No wonder everything hurt so much. Where is my team?" he asked Captain Suben's face changed. Her yellow eyes looked down at the floor. "They left," she said quietly. "When the explosion happened, all the humans ran to their ship. They tried to find you, but the radiation was too strong. They thought you were dead. They waited 2 days. Then they had to go." The words hit Taeho like a punch to the stomach. His team left him behind. They thought he was dead, and they left him on an alien station in the middle of nowhere. "How long until they come back?" he asked. "They will not come back," Captain Suben said. "They think you are dead. They will tell Earth that you died in the explosion." Taeho stared at the ceiling. He was alone. Completely alone on an alien station with creatures he barely knew. Earth would never know he was alive. His family would think he was dead. "I am sorry, Captain," Suben said. "We tried to save you with our medicine, but human bodies are different. We did not think you would wake up." Taeho slowly sat up, fighting through the pain. "What happens now?" Captain Suben moved to the window. Outside, Taeho could see space. Stars stretched out in every direction. No planets, no other ships, just empty space. "The station is dying," she said. "The explosion damaged everything. Life support is failing. Reactor only works at 12% power. We have maybe 6 weeks before the air runs out. Can you fix it?" Taeho asked. "No," Captain Suben said. "The damage is too great, and we have sent messages for help. But rescue ships will take 6 months to reach us. We will be dead long before." Then Taeho stood up slowly. His legs were shaky, but they held him. "Show me the damage." Captain Suben looked surprised. "You are hurt. You should rest." "I am an engineer," Taeho said. "Maybe I can help." Captain Suben made a sound that might have been laughing. "You are one human. We have 47 crew members, including some of the best engineers in the galaxy. If we cannot fix it, how? Can you?" Taeho walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, his team was flying back to Earth. They would report that he was dead. His parents would cry. His sister would be sad. Everyone would think he died trying to make peace with aliens. But he was not dead. He was alive, and he was stuck on a broken space station with creatures who had given up hope. "Maybe I cannot fix it," he said, "but I want to try. I have nothing else to do." Captain Suben studied him with her yellow eyes. "Very well, but do not expect miracles. We have tried everything." She led him out of the medical bay and into the station's main corridor. The hallway was dimly lit. Some of the lights were broken. The air felt thick and hard to breathe. Taeho could hear the hum of machinery, but it sounded weak and unsteady. They passed other crew members. Some looked like Captain Suben, with green scales and yellow eyes. Others were completely different. One had 4 arms and blue skin. Another looked like a giant insect walking on 2 legs. All of them stared at Tejo as he walked by. "They're surprised to see you alive," Captain Subin said. "Most of them think you should have died from your injuries." "Maybe I should have," Tejo said, "but I did not. Now I have to live with it." They came to a large door marked with symbols Tejo could not read. Captain Subin pressed her hand against a panel and the door opened. Inside was the reactor room. Tejo had seen it 3 weeks ago when it was working perfectly. Now it looked like a war zone. Burned metal was everywhere. Cables hung from the ceiling like dead snakes. The main fusion core was cracked down the middle. "This is where you were found," Captain Subin said, pointing to a spot near the core. "The explosion threw you 12 feet. The radiation should have killed you, but somehow you survived." Tejo walked around the room slowly. The damage was bad, but he had seen worse. During his training on Earth, he had worked on reactors that had been bombed in wars. He had fixed fusion cores that had been underwater for months. "Your people say this cannot be fixed?" he asked. "Look at it, Captain," Subin said. "The main core is cracked. Control systems are melted. The power couplers are completely destroyed. We do not have the parts to rebuild it." Tejo knelt down and looked at the cracked core. The break was clean, like it had been cut with a laser. The metal around it was bent but not broken. "You are right," he said. "You cannot fix this the way it was." Captain Subin nodded. "Exactly. It is impossible." Tejo stood up and smiled. It was the first time he had smiled since waking up. "Good thing I am human," he said. "We do not fix things the way they were. We fix them the way they should be." Captain Subin tilted her head. "What do you mean?" "Me your parts storage," Tejo said. "Get me a cup of coffee. Real coffee, not that alien stuff. I have work to do." For the first time since the explosion, Captain Subin looked hopeful. Maybe this human could do something after all. Maybe they were not going to die on this broken station. Maybe miracles were possible. Part 2. The assessment the next morning, Tejo met engineer Choi Woo-jin in the main corridor. Choi was a Thraxi, which meant he looked like a giant insect walking on 2 legs. His skin was hard and shiny like armor. He had 4 arms and big, black eyes that never blinked. "Want to see the damage reports?" Choi asked through his translator. His voice sounded like clicking and buzzing, but the machine made it sound normal. "Yes," Tejo said. "I want to see everything." Choi led him to a small office filled with computer screens. The walls were covered with charts and numbers. Everything was written in alien symbols that looked like dancing lines. "This is bad," Choi said, pointing to a red chart. "Life support is failing in most of the station. We can only use 20% of the rooms now. Everyone is crowded together in the safe areas." Tejo studied the chart. Even without reading the alien writing, he could see the problem. Most of the station was marked in red, which meant danger. Only a few small areas were green for safe. "About power?" he asked. Choi showed him another chart. "The main reactor gives us 12% power. It's barely enough to keep the air machines running. We have no power for heat, cooking, or cleaning water, and the backup systems. All broken," Choi said sadly. "The explosion destroyed the emergency batteries. The solar panels are cracked. The backup reactor will not start." Tejo walked to the window and looked out at the station. From here, he could see the outside hull. It was covered in black burn marks from the explosion. Some sections looked like they had been hit by lightning. "How much time do we have?" he asked. "Maybe 6 weeks," Choi said. "Maybe less." "The air recycling system is getting worse every day. Soon it will not clean the air fast enough. We will slowly suffocate." Tejo nodded. He had been in bad situations before, but this was worse than anything he had ever seen. On Earth, when something broke, you could always get new parts or find another way to fix it. Here they were alone in space with no help coming. "Show me the whole station," he said. Choi looked surprised. "It will take all day. Most areas are dangerous. The radiation is still high in some places." "I need to see everything," Tejo said. "I cannot fix what I do not understand." They started in the reactor room where Tejo had been hurt. The damage was even worse in daylight. The main fusion core was split in half like a broken egg. Cables hung everywhere like dead vines. The control panels were melted into strange shapes. Tried to fix this first, Choi said, but the core is too damaged. We would need to replace the whole thing. Do you have replacement parts? Choi said, the core is made special for this station. It would take months to build a new one, and we do not have the tools. Taeho walked around the broken core. The metal was twisted and burned, but the base was still solid. The support structure was damaged, but not destroyed. What about smaller cores? He asked. Do you have parts for smaller reactors? Choi made a clicking sound that might have been confusion. Yes, we have parts for emergency reactors, but they are too small. One emergency reactor could only power the lights in one room. How many do you have? Maybe 20 or 30. But they are meant for small ships, not a big station like this. Taeho smiled. This was the first good news he had heard. Show me those parts later. What else is broken? They went to the life support center next. This room was full of big machines that cleaned the air and made oxygen. Half of them were not working. The ones that still worked sounded sick, like they were coughing. The main air processor is dead, Choi said. We are using the backup systems, but they are too small. We cannot clean the air fast enough for 47 people. Taeho looked at the machines. They were huge and complicated, with pipes and filters everywhere. But the basic idea was simple. Dirty air went in one side. Clean air came out the other side. What about the machines in other parts of the station? He asked. What do you mean? Kitchen must have air cleaners for cooking smoke. The medical bay probably has air filters for surgery. The laboratory needs clean air for experiments. Where are those machines? Choi's big, black eyes seemed to get bigger. Those are different machines. They are not made for life support, but they clean air, right? Yes, but... Choi stopped talking. He made more clicking sounds. You want to? Use cooking machines to make air for breathing? Why not? Taeho asked. Clean air is clean air. They spent the next hour looking at air cleaning machines all over the station. The kitchen had powerful fans that sucked up smoke and grease. The medical bay had filters that removed germs and dust. The laboratory had machines that could clean air better than anything in the life support center. These machines are not designed to work together, Choi said. Each one is made for a different job, so we make them work together, Taeho said. We connect them with pipes and make one big air cleaning system. Choi stared at him. That is not how we do things. Each machine has a specific purpose. You cannot just mix them together. Because... Because... Choi stopped clicking. I do not know why not. We just do not do it that way, continued the tour. The water recycling plant was completely broken. Gravity generators only worked in half the station. The communication system could barely send messages to the next room, let alone to other ships. But everywhere they went, Taeho saw possibilities. The broken water plant could be fixed with parts from the kitchen dishwashers. The gravity generators could be connected together to make them stronger. The communication system could be rebuilt using computer parts from all over the station. You see problems differently than we do, Choi said as they walked back to his office. What do you mean? When we see a broken machine, we try to fix it, exactly like it was before. We use the same parts, the same design, the same everything. But you look at a broken machine and think of ways to make it different. Taeho nodded. On Earth, we do not always have the right parts. We learn to use what we have. A broken car might get fixed with parts from a refrigerator and a washing machine. That sounds dangerous. Sometimes it is, but it works. They reached Choi's office. The alien engineer sat down at his computer and started typing with all four arms. Numbers and charts appeared on the screens. I have been thinking about your ideas, Choi said. Using kitchen machines for air cleaning, connecting gravity generators together, taking apart the water plant and rebuilding it with dishwasher parts. And... might work, Choi said slowly. It is crazy, but it might work. Taeho sat down across from him. Then let's try it. What if we make things worse? What if we break the machines that still work? Then we will be in the same situation we are in now, Taeho said. Dead in 6 weeks. Choi made a sound that might have been laughing.
You are right. We cannot get more dead than dead.
Exactly, so we have nothing to lose. Choi turned back to his computer. I will make a list of all the machines we can use, but I want you to know something. What? In my 40 years as an engineer, I've never tried to fix anything the way you want to fix it. My people believe in following the rules. We do things the right way, the safe way, the way our ancestors did them. How is that working out? Jae-ho asked. Choi looked around at the broken station. Not very well. Then maybe it is time to try something new. Maybe it is, Choi said. Maybe it is time to think like a human. Tae-ho stood up. Good. Tomorrow, we start taking things apart. We are going to rebuild the station from the ground up. And if it does not work, then at least we will die trying, Tae-ho said. And up is better than dying while sitting around doing nothing. Choi clicked his agreement. For the first time in weeks, he felt something he had forgotten about. Hope. The next morning, Tae-ho and Choi started taking apart the recreation center. The room was full of broken exercise machines and entertainment systems that nobody had used since the explosion. Are you sure about this? Choi asked, as they pulled cables from a running machine. No, Tae-ho said honestly. But I am sure that doing nothing will kill us all. They worked for 3 hours, removing air circulation fans from the exercise equipment. The fans were designed to keep people cool while they worked out, but Tae-ho saw something else. They were powerful, quiet, and already connected to air filters. These fans move a lot of air, he said, holding up a small but strong motor. If we connect 10 of them together, they could push air through the whole life support system. Choi clicked his agreement. But how do we connect them? The pipes are different. Sizes. The electrical systems do not match. Tae-ho smiled. That is what makes it fun. They carried the fans to the life support center. The room was hot and stuffy. The remaining air processors were working so hard that they sounded like they were screaming. First, we need to make all the pipes the same size, Tae-ho said. He found metal sheets in the maintenance storage room. Using tools from the workshop, he cut and shaped the metal into connecting pieces. The work was slow and hard. His hands were still sore from his injuries, but he kept going. Choi watched him work. On my planet, we would order the correct parts from the factory. It would take months, but everything would fit perfectly. We do not have months, Tae-ho said, welding 2 pieces of metal together. We have weeks. But what if your connections leak? What if the air pressure is wrong? Then we will fix those problems when they happen, Tae-ho said.
Oh.
The best plan is the one that works right now. By afternoon, they had connected 5 exercise fans to the main air system. The fans were different sizes and came from different machines, but Tae-ho had found ways to make them work together. Ready to test it? He asked. Choi looked nervous. What if it breaks the whole system? Then we will be in the same situation we were in this morning, Tae-ho said. But if it works, we will have cleaner air. He flipped the switch. The fan started spinning. At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the air in the room began to move. The stuffy feeling went away. The screaming sound from the old processors got quieter. It works, Choi said, his voice full of surprise. The air is moving. Faster? The filters are cleaning better. Tae-ho checked the numbers on his tablet. Air quality is up 15%. That is enough for 5 more people to breathe safely. 5 more people? Can open one of the sealed sections now. The air system can handle it. I went to section C, which had been closed since the explosion. When they opened the door, stale air rushed out. The lights were dim, but everything looked normal. We can move people here, Choi said. They will not have to sleep in the hallways anymore. Word spread quickly through the station. Within an hour, a crowd had gathered outside the life support center. Captain Su-ben arrived with several other crew members. Is it true? He asked. You fixed the air system. We improved it, Tae-ho said. It is not perfect, but it is better. Captain Su-ben walked into Section C and breathed deeply. The air is good here. How did you do it? Tae-ho showed her the exercise fans connected to the air system. We used fans from the recreation center. They were just sitting there, not doing anything useful. But those fans are not made for life support, said another crew member. This one looked like Captain Subin, but was smaller and had blue scales instead of green. They move air and have filters, Tejo said. That is all we need. The crew member shook her head. What if they break? What if the connections fail? What if the air becomes poisonous? Then we will fix those problems, Tejo said. But right now we have better air and more space to live. That is progress. Captain Subin looked thoughtful. What else can you fix? Water's next, Tejo said. The recycling system is completely broken, but I think we can rebuild it. With what parts? Kitchen equipment, medical machines, maybe some computer cooling systems? Anything that cleans or purifies liquid? The crew members looked at each other. Some seemed excited, others worried. They had never seen anyone fix things by mixing different machines together. I will help, said a new voice. Everyone turned to see who had spoken. It was Dr. Park Min-soo, the station's medical officer. She was tall and thin, with purple skin and silver eyes. The medical bay has water purification systems, she said. We use them to clean medical instruments, if you can make them work with other machines, we might be able to make clean drinking water. That would be very helpful, Tejo said. What else do you have? Blood cleaning machines, air filters for surgery, chemical processors for making medicine. I do not know if any of it will help, but you can look. Over the next 2 days, Tejo and his growing team of helpers took apart machines from all over the station. They found water pumps in the kitchen dishwashers. They found filters in the computer cooling systems. They found heaters in the food preparation areas. This is chaos, said Engineer Woojin, another Thraxi who worked with Choi. Nothing matches. Nothing is designed to work together. But it is working, Choi said. Air quality is up 30%. We have opened 3 more sections. People are not crowded together anymore. For now, Woojin said, but what happens when something breaks? We'll not have the right parts to fix it. Then we will find different parts, Tejo said. Or we will make new parts. Or we will find another way to solve the problem. That is not how engineering works, Woojin said. It is how human engineering works, Tejo said. We do not make things perfect. We make things work. The water project was harder than the air system. The station's water recycling plant was not just broken, it was completely destroyed. The explosion had melted the main processor and cracked all the storage tanks. We need to build a new water system from scratch, Tejo told his team. But we do not have the right parts. What do we have? Asked Dr. Park. Tejo looked at his list. Kitchen machines that clean dishes and cook food. Medical machines that clean blood and make pure water. Computer machines that cool processors with liquid. Bathroom machines that will process waste. That is disgusting, said Woojin. Water is water, Tejo said. If we clean it well enough, it does not matter where it came from. They spent a week connecting all the different machines. The kitchen dishwashers became the first stage of cleaning. The medical purifiers became the second stage. The computer cooling systems became the final stage. It looks like something a crazy person built, Choi said, looking at the mess of pipes and machines. Maybe, Tejo said, but a crazy person who wants to live. When they tested the new water system, it worked better than anyone expected. The water that came out was cleaner than anything they had tasted in weeks. How is this possible? Captain Subin asked, drinking a cup of the clean water. Each machine removes different types of dirt, Tejo explained. The kitchen machines remove food particles. The medical machines remove germs and chemicals. Computer machines remove heat and metal particles. Together, they clean water better than any single machine. But the original water recycling plant was designed by experts, said Woojin. It cost millions of credits. How can your pile of junk work better? Because the experts designed it to work perfectly in perfect conditions, Tejo said. We do not have perfect conditions. We have broken conditions. So we need broken solutions that can work in broken situations. Captain Subin nodded slowly. I am beginning to understand. Your way of fixing things is not about making them perfect. It is about making them work no matter what happens.
Exactly.
Tejo said, on Earth, we call it being tough. Things break all the time, so we learn to keep going anyway. And that is why you survived the explosion, she said. You are tough. Maybe Tejo said. Or maybe I am just too stubborn to die. Captain Subin laughed. It was the first time anyone had laughed on the station since the explosion. What do we fix next? She asked. Te-Ho looked at his list of broken systems. Gravity generators. The station is floating around like a bubble. People are getting sick from the weightlessness. The gravity generators are the most complex systems on the station, Choi warned. If we break them, we could make the whole station unstable. Then we will be very careful, Tejo said. But we cannot leave half our people floating in zero. Gravity forever. How do we fix gravity generators with kitchen equipment? Asked Dr. Park. Tejo smiled. I have some ideas. But first, let me ask you something. Do any of you know how magnets work? Magnets, Captain Subin asked. What do magnets have to do with gravity generators? Tejo smiled as he led the group to the gravity control room. Everything. Gravity generators work by spinning very strong magnets very fast. This spinning creates artificial gravity. Gravity control room was a disaster. 3 of the 6 generators were completely broken. The other 3 were working, but barely. Half the station floated in zero gravity, while the other half had weak gravity that made people feel sick. The problem is simple, Tejo said, looking at the broken generators. Each generator works by itself. When one breaks, that whole section loses gravity. But what if we connected them all together? Choi clicked in confusion. Connect them? But they are designed to work independently. On Earth, we have power grids, Tejo explained. When one power plant breaks, the others pick up the extra work. The whole system keeps running, even if part of it fails. But gravity is not electricity, said Dr. Park. You cannot just send gravity through wires. No, but you can send magnetic fields through wires, Tejo said. And magnetic fields create gravity. He walked to the largest broken generator. It was the size of a small car, with copper coils wrapped around a metal core. The explosion had cracked the core and melted half the coils. This generator is dead, he said, but look at these smaller generators. He pointed to several smaller machines around the room. They were emergency backup units, each about the size of a refrigerator. These work fine, but they are too weak by themselves. One small generator cannot create enough gravity for a whole section. But what if we used them together? How? Asked Captain Sudashbin. Tejo pulled out his tablet and started drawing. Take the magnetic field from this generator and send it to that one. Then we take both fields and send them to the next one. Each generator makes the next one stronger. That is impossible, said Wu Jin. Magnetic fields cannot be combined like that. Sure they can, Tejo said. Just need to time them right, like singers in a choir if they all sing the same. Note, at the same time, the sound gets louder. But if the timing is wrong, asked Choi, and the fields cancel each other out and we get no gravity at all, Tejo admitted. But that is not worse than what we have now. Captain Subin thought about this. What do you need to try it? Lots of cables, some computer control systems, and about a week of very careful work, Tejo said. Everyone needs to stay out of Section D while we test it. Why Section D? Because if I am wrong, the gravity there might go crazy. People could be thrown against the walls or crushed by sudden heavy gravity. The team worked for 6 days connecting the gravity generators. It was the hardest job yet. The cables had to be exactly the right length. The computer timing had to be perfect. One small mistake could destroy all the generators at once. This is very dangerous, Choi said as they connected the last cable. If this fails, we will lose all gravity everywhere. If we do nothing, we will lose half the crew to zero gravity sickness, Tejo said. People cannot live without gravity for months. Their bones get weak. Their hearts stop working right. Their blood does not flow correctly. Are you ready to? Test it, Captain Subin asked. Tejo looked at all the connections one more time. Everything looked right, but he knew that looking right and being right were different things. Clear Section D, he said. Make sure nobody is floating around in there. 10 minutes later, Captain Subin reported that Section D was empty. Here we go, Tejo said, and pressed the start button. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Generators started humming. The sound got louder and higher as they spun faster. Magnetic field is building, Choi reported, watching his instruments. Generator 1 is at 50% power, said Dr. Park. Generator 2 is at 60%. Generator 3 is at 70%. The humming turned into a deep vibration that shook the whole room. Tejo watched the numbers on his screen. The magnetic fields were lining up perfectly, each one making the others stronger. All generators are synchronized, he said. Activating gravity field in 3, ... 2, ... 1, ... He pressed another button. The vibration stopped. The room became very quiet. Did it work? Captain Subin asked. Tejo looked at his tablet. Gravity in Section D is now at 90% of normal. That is better than it was before the explosion. Everyone cheered. But Tejo held up his hand. We need to test it, he said. Make sure it is stable. They sent a small robot into Section D first. The robot walked around normally, not floating or being crushed. Then Dr. Park volunteered to go in herself. Gravity feels perfect, she reported over the radio. I can walk, run, even jump normally. How is this possible? Woojin asked. 3 small generators should not be able to create that much gravity. They're helping each other, Tejo explained. Each generator takes the magnetic field from the previous one and makes it stronger. By the time the field reaches the end of the chain, it is 3 times more powerful than any single generator. But what if one generator breaks? Then the others will compensate, Tejo said. The system will get weaker, but it will not fail completely. Captain Subin shook her head in amazement. You have created a gravity system that is stronger and more reliable than our original design. And we did it with spare parts and broken generators, added Choi. That is the human way, Tejo said. Make the best of what you have. But the real breakthrough came when they started working on the main power reactor. The fusion core was still cracked down the middle, completely useless. The station was running on emergency power that would not last much longer. We need to rebuild the reactor, Captain Subin said. But we do not have the parts. What if we do not rebuild it? Tejo asked. What do you mean? What if we replace it with something completely different? Tejo led them to the storage room, where all the small reactor parts were kept. There were dozens of emergency reactors, each one designed to power a small ship for a few weeks. 1 small reactor is not enough, Choi said. We need 100 times more power, so we use 100 small reactors, Tejo said. That is insane, said Woojin. 100 reactors would be impossible to control. They would interfere with each other. The whole station could explode. Not if we do it right, Tejo said, instead of one big reactor that has to be perfect. We have many small reactors that can fail safely. He started drawing on his tablet again. We spread the reactors all over the station. Each one powers a small area. If one reactor breaks, the others keep working. If one reactor explodes, it is too small to damage the whole station. But how do we control them all? Asked Dr. Park. With computers, Tejo said. We connect all the reactors to a central computer system. The computer watches each reactor and adjusts the power automatically. What if the computer breaks? Then we have backup computers and manual controls for each reactor and emergency shutdown systems. Captain Subin studied the drawing. This is completely different from how we build reactors. Your way makes one perfect reactor that powers everything, Tejo said. My way makes many simple reactors that work together. Your way is more efficient, but my way is more reliable. And if something goes wrong, it's with your way. If something goes wrong, everything stops working and everyone dies, Tejo said. With my way, if something goes wrong, most things keep working and most people live. You are talking about changing the fundamental design of the station, Choi said. Yes, I am. That will take weeks. Maybe months. We have time now, Tejo said. The air system is working. The water system is working. The gravity is working. We are not in immediate danger anymore. Captain Subin looked around at her crew. They all looked healthier than they had in weeks. The station felt alive again instead of dying. How sure are you that this will work? She asked. Sure, Tejo said honestly. And the other 10%? The other 10%? We all die in a nuclear explosion. Captain Subin laughed. Those are good odds. It's better than the 100% chance of dying slowly that we had before. So we try it. We try it, she said. But we do it very carefully. One reactor at a time, agreed, Tejo said. We start with the smallest reactor in the safest location. If it works, we add another one. If it explodes, we stop and think of something else. And if it works, we will have the most reliable power system in the galaxy, Tejo said. A system that cannot be destroyed by any single failure. System that thinks like a human, added Choi. What does that mean? Asked Captain Subin. It means a system that does not give up when things go wrong, Tejo said. A system that keeps fighting even when it is damaged. A tough system, said Dr. Park. The toughest, Tejo agreed. They spent the rest of the day planning the new reactor system. For the first time since the explosion, everyone felt hopeful about the future. They were not just surviving anymore. They were winning. 3 weeks later, Kepler Station was a different place. Corridors were bright and warm. People walked instead of floating. Clean air flowed through every room. Fresh water came from every tap. The station hummed with the sound of healthy machines instead of dying ones. Tae-Ho stood in the new power control room, watching dozens of small screens. Each screen showed one of the 43 small reactors now spread throughout the station. Some reactors were running at full power. Others were resting. A few were shut down for maintenance. Reactor 15 is running hot, Choi reported from his control station. Reduce power to 60%, Tejo said. Let Reactor 16 pick up the extra load. Choi pressed some buttons. On the screens, Tejo watched as power shifted from one reactor to another. The total power output stayed the same, but the hot reactor cooled down. That is amazing, said Dr. Park, who was learning to help with the reactor controls. The system balances itself automatically. That is the point, Tejo said. No single reactor has to work too hard. They take turns carrying the heavy load. Captain Subin entered the control room carrying a data tablet. I have the daily efficiency report, she said. Power consumption is down 30% from our original levels. How is that possible? Asked Woo Jin. We are powering more of the station than ever before. Small reactors are more efficient than the big one, Tejo explained. The big reactor had to run at full power all the time, even when we did not need much electricity. Small reactors only run as hard as they need to. And because we have so many reactors, we can shut some down for cleaning and repairs, added Choi. The big reactor could never be shut down safely. Captain Subin nodded. The efficiency improvement is impressive. But there is something even better in this report. What? We are now producing 40% more power than we need, she said. Even with all systems running perfectly, we have extra power left over. Extra power means we can expand, Dr. Park said excitedly. We can open more sections, run more experiments, maybe even build new facilities. Actually, Tejo said, I have been thinking about that extra power. There is something we should try. He led them to Section F, which had been sealed since the explosion. This section had taken the worst damage. The walls were cracked, the floors were buckled, and everything smelled like burned metal. This section is completely destroyed, Woo Jin said. It would take years to repair it properly. You are right, Tejo said. It would take years to repair it the old way. But what if we do not repair it? What if we rebuild it better? Better. How? Asked Captain Subin. Look around, Tejo said. This section is empty. We can design it however we want. You can put in better air systems, better power systems, better everything. You want to use this section as a test area? Dr. Park asked. Exactly. We test new ideas here before we use them in the rest of the station. Over the next week, they turned Section F into a laboratory for new engineering ideas. They installed the newest version of Teo's air system, which was even more efficient than the one they had built earlier. They put in a new water recycling system that could turn any liquid into pure drinking water. But the most impressive improvement was the smart power grid. Instead of just sending electricity where it was needed, the new system could predict what power would be needed and prepare for it. Watch this, Tejo said to a group of visiting crew members. Computer, increase lighting in Section F by 50%. The lights got brighter immediately. Now watch the power displays, he said. On the screens, they could see the power grid automatically adjusting. Before the lights had even finished getting brighter, the system had already moved more power to Section F from other parts of the station. The computer predicted that more lighting would need more power, Choi explained. It made the adjustment. Before the demand actually happened, that means no power spikes, no brownouts, no sudden failures, Taeho said. The system stays stable no matter what happens. How does the computer know what will happen? Asked a crew member. It learns, Dr. Park said. It watches patterns. It knows that when someone asks for more lights, they usually ask for more heat and air circulation too. So it prepares for all of those things. The computer thinks ahead, said another crew member. Like a human, Choi added proudly. Word of the improvement spread throughout the station. Crew members who had been skeptical of Taeho's methods started asking for upgrades to their own sections. The kitchen wanted a new food preparation system. The medical bay wanted better air filtration. The workshop wanted a more flexible power supply. Everyone wants the human-style engineering now, Captain Suben told Taeho as they walked through the station. They see how well it works, and they want it for themselves. Are you surprised? Taeho asked. Yes and no, she said. I am surprised. How much better everything works. But I am not surprised that people want better lives. They stopped at a window that looked out into space. In the distance, Taeho could see construction robots working on the outside of the station. They were installing new solar panels and communication equipment. What are they building? He asked. An emergency beacon, Captain Subin said. Your new communication system is so powerful that we can now send messages much farther than before. If another ship ever gets in trouble, they can call us for help. Station will become a rescue center. Why not? We have extra power, extra life support capacity, and systems that can adapt to any emergency. We could help ships that are damaged or lost. Taeho smiled. From a dying station to a rescue center? That is quite a change. It is more than a change, Captain Suben said. It is a transformation. The station is not just fixed, it is evolved. That evening, Taeho sat in his new quarters in Section F. The room was larger and more comfortable than any place he had lived on the station. But more importantly, it felt alive. The lights adjusted automatically to his presence. The air circulation responded to his movements. The temperature stayed perfect without him touching any controls. Doctor, Park knocked on his door. May I come in? Of course. She entered and looked around the room. The smart systems are working well. Very well, Taeho agreed. Sometimes I forget I am on a space station. It feels more like a living organism that takes care of itself. Eyes. Is exactly what you have created, she said. A living station. One that learns, adapts, and grows stronger over time. We all created it, Taeho said. I just showed everyone a different way to think about engineering. He showed us that systems do not have to be perfect to be excellent, Dr. Park said. You showed us that flexibility is more important than efficiency. You showed us that many simple things working together can be stronger than one complex thing working alone. Those are human ideas, Taeho said. We learned them because we had to. Earth is a hard place to live, so we learned to be tough. And now, you have made our station tough too. It was a soft chime from the wall speaker. Attention all crew, came Captain Subin's voice. We have received a message from the Galactic Cooperative Fleet. 3 ships are coming to visit us. They want to see our new engineering systems. Visitors, Dr. Park asked. The news of what we have accomplished here has spread, Captain Suben continued. Other stations are having problems too. They want to learn our methods. Taeho and Dr. Park looked at each other. You are going to be famous, she said. We are. All going to be famous, Taeho corrected. We proved that different species can work together to solve impossible problems. Do you think they will understand what we have learned here? Some will, Taeho said. The smart ones will see that there are many ways to solve the same problem. Stubborn ones will insist that their way is still better. What will? You tell them? Taeho looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, his old team was probably back on Earth by now. They would have reported him dead. His family would be sad. His friends would miss him. But here, on this alien station in the middle of nowhere, he had found something special. He had found people who were willing to learn new ways of thinking. He had found work that mattered. He had found a home. "I will tell them the truth," he said. "I will tell them that the best way to solve a problem is to work together. I will tell them that being tough is more important than being perfect. I will tell them that humans have something valuable to offer the galaxy. And what is that?" "Hope," Tejo said. "We never give up, even when everything looks impossible. We keep trying until we find a way." Dr. Park nodded.
Oh.
"Hope is a very human thing. And now it is a very alien thing too," Tejo said. "You learned it from us." "We learned many things from you," she said. "But the most important thing we learned is that learning never stops. There is always a better way, a new solution, a different approach." "That is the most human lesson of all," Tejo agreed. Outside, the stars continued to shine, but they know. Longer looked cold and distant. It looked like destinations, like possibilities, like hope. The dying station had become something new, something stronger, something that could help others instead of needing help, something human. 2 days later, 3 massive ships appeared outside Kepler Station. Each ship was the size of a small city, carrying hundreds of crew members from different alien species. Word had spread across the galaxy about the impossible repairs at Kepler. Station.Te-Ho stood in the docking bay with Captain Subin, watching the visitors arrive. The first group off the ships looked like walking trees with silver bark and glowing blue leaves. The second group had 6 legs and crystal skin that sparkled. In the light, the third group looked like floating jellyfish with transparent bodies. "Welcome to Kepler Station," Captain Subin said through her translator. "I am Captain Kong Subin, Station Commander." The leader of the tree-like aliens stepped forward. "I am Admiral Yoon Seo Kijin of the Galactic Engineering Council. We have come to see this impossible station that refuses to die." "And I am Professor Lee Chang-ho of the Stellar Research Institute," said the crystal-skinned leader. "We want to understand how you achieved 40% power efficiency improvement with salvaged parts." The jellyfish leader floated closer. "I am Chief Engineer Park Biora of the Emergency Response Fleet. Half the stations in our sector are failing. If your methods work, you could save thousands of lives." Captain Subin smiled. "Let me introduce the engineer who made all this possible. This is Lee Tejo, human engineer and our station's savior." Tejo stepped forward. The aliens stared at him with curiosity. He was smaller than most of them, and his skin had no scales, crystals, or special colors. He looked very ordinary. "You are the human?" Admiral Seochin asked. "You look so... simple." "Humans usually do," Tejo said. "We are not the strongest or smartest species in the galaxy, but we are stubborn." "Show us what you have built," Professor Chang-ho said. "We want to understand your methods." The tour took 6 hours. Tejo and his team showed the visitors everything. The distributed power system, the adaptive life support, the smart environmental controls, the flexible gravity network. The aliens asked hundreds of questions and took thousands of measurements. "This is revolutionary," Admiral Seochin said, as they stood in the power control room. "You have created a completely new way to think about station engineering." "It is not new for humans," Tejo said. "We have always built things this way. We just never had a chance to show it to aliens before." "But the risk," said Professor Chang-ho. "What if one of your small reactors explodes? What if the distributed system fails?" "Then we fix it," Choi answered proudly. "That is what we learned from Tejo. When something breaks, you do not give up. You find another way, Chief Engineer." Biora floated around the reactor displays. "Your power grid can lose half its components and still function at 80% capacity. Our best stations fail completely if they lose 10% of their systems." "That is because you designed for perfection," Dr. Park explained. "We designed for survival." "Survival engineering," Admiral Seoshin repeated slowly. "I've never heard that term before." "It means building things that work even when everything goes wrong," Tejo said. "It means having backup plans for your backup plans. It means never putting all your hopes in one system." The visitors spent 3 days studying every detail of the station, They interviewed every crew member, copied every design, and tested every system. On the last day, they gathered in the main conference room for their final meeting. "We have reached our conclusions," Admiral Seokujin announced. "What you have accomplished here is beyond remarkable. You have not just repaired a station, you have evolved it. The efficiency improvements alone would save billions of credits across the galaxy," added Professor Chung-ho. "But the reliability improvements could save millions of lives." Chief Engineer Bora projected a star map onto the wall. 17 stations in this sector are currently failing. 23 more are operating below safe levels. Using traditional methods, we would lose half of them within a year. But with human engineering methods, Captain Subin asked, "We believe we could save them all," Admiral Seochin said, "and improve them beyond their original capabilities." Felt a strange emotion he had not experienced in months. Pride, not just in his own work, but in what his species could offer the galaxy. "There is one problem," Professor Cheng-ho said. "We do not have enough humans to fix every station. Earth has only recently joined the galactic community. There are not many human engineers available, and you teach other species to think like humans," Taeho said. Choi learned. Dr. Park learned. Captain Subin learned. "If they can do it, others can too." "Is that possible?" asked Chief Engineer Biora. "It is not just possible," Choi said. "It is necessary. The galaxy is too big for any one species to handle alone. We need to share knowledge, learn from each other, work together." "Choi is right," Captain Subin said. "Before the human arrived, we thought our way was the only way. Now we know there are many ways to solve the same problem. The best solution comes from combining different approaches." Admiral Seogin stood up, Taeho, on behalf of the Galactic Engineering Council. "I offer you the position of Chief Human Engineering Advisor. You would travel throughout the galaxy, teaching our methods to other species and learning their methods in return." Taeho was quiet for a long moment. This was what he had always dreamed of, a chance to explore the galaxy, meet new species, solve impossible problems. But it also meant leaving the station that had become his home. "What about Kepler Station?" he asked. "The station will become the first galactic engineering training center," Professor Cheng-ho said. "Engineers from across the galaxy will come here to learn human methods. Your team will teach them. And you will always have a home here," Captain Subin added. "Whenever you need to rest between missions, your quarters will be waiting." Looked around the room at the faces that had become so familiar. Choi, who had learned to think beyond his programming. Dr. Park, who had embraced human flexibility. Captain Subin, who had risked everything on the ideas of a strange alien. "Except," he said, "but with one condition." "What condition?" asked Admiral Seokujin. "I work with mixed teams. Human engineers and alien engineers together. We learn from each other." "Agreed," the Admiral said immediately. "When can you start?" "Right now," Taeho said. Chief Engineer Biora mentioned 17 failing stations. "Let's save them." Over the next hour, they planned the first rescue missions. Taeho would lead a team of human and alien engineers to the most critical stations. They would implement emergency repairs using human survival engineering methods, then train local crews to maintain the improvements. "This could change everything," Chief Engineer Bora said excitedly. "Not just engineering, but how different species work together." "That is the point," Taeho said. "Humans learned survival engineering because we had to work together on a difficult planet. Now the galaxy can learn the same lessons." As the meeting ended, Captain Subin walked with Taeho to his quarters. "Are you sure about this?" she asked. "You will be traveling for years. You will face dangers we cannot imagine." "I am sure," Taeho said. 3 months ago, I was stranded and forgotten on a dying station. Now I have a chance to help save the galaxy. How can I say no to that? What if Earth finds out you are alive? What if they want you to come home?" Taeho smiled. "They will find out eventually. When they do, I hope they will be proud of what I accomplished out here." "They will be," Captain Subin said. "You proved that humans belong in the galaxy. You proved that different ways of thinking can solve impossible problems. You proved that hope is stronger than despair." That night, Taeho stood in his quarters one last time, looking out at the stars. Tomorrow, he would board a ship and begin a new adventure. He would visit worlds he had never imagined, meet species he had never heard of, and solve problems that no one thought could be solved. But tonight, he was still on Kepler Station, surrounded by friends who had become family. The station hummed around him with the sound of healthy machines and happy crew members. The air was clean, the water was pure, and the lights were bright. He had arrived here as a forgotten casualty of an explosion. He was leaving as the first human ambassador of survival engineering. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would he. In the morning, as his ship prepared to depart, the entire crew of Kepler Station gathered to see him off. Choi gave him a toolkit filled with adapters and connectors for alien technology. Dr. Park gave him a medical kit designed for multi-species crews. Captain Subin gave him something more valuable than any tool. "This is a communication device," she said, handing him a small crystal. "It will always connect you to Kepler Station. No matter how far you travel, you can always talk to us. You can always come home." Taeho held the crystal carefully. It was warm and seemed to pulse with its own light. "Thank you," he said, "all of you, for believing in impossible ideas, for working together when everything seemed hopeless, for showing me that being human is not about being perfect, it is about never giving up." As his ship moved away from the station, Taeho watched through the window until Kepler Station was just another star in the darkness. But he knew it would always be there, a beacon of hope in the galaxy, proving that impossible problems have possible solutions. He was Lee Taeho, human engineer, teacher of survival, and bringer of hope to the stars, and his work was just beginning.